Hello and welcome everyone to our presentation about best management practices and regulations in the international context for the protection of merchant ships from cybersecurity breaches. First of all, let's understand the key points of this topic, which are best management practices, international regulations, merchant ships, and cybersecurity breaches. So, throughout this presentation, we will be discussing the use of best management practices and international regulations in order to protect merchant ships from cybersecurity breaches. So, to enter into our discussion, let's first learn what is merchant shipping. Merchant shipping is the most famous method of transport in international trade at present. It is cost effective, safe, and environment friendly when compared with the alternatives that are available, and it has been showing significant evidence of growth for the past few years. According to the UNCTAD report of statistics in 2020, 2.1 billion tons in deadweight was transported through merchant ships, and goods like raw material, manufactured goods, and people were transported through merchant shipping. And as any industry in this modern era, merchant shipping is also driven by computer systems, which means they are vulnerable for cyber attacks. And that's why certain best practices and regulations are needed in order to keep merchant shipping industry safe from cyber attacks. Now, my friend Tilna Piris will explain to you about cyber attacks and continue the presentation. Thank you.
Yes, Subramanian, as you said, with the vast digitalization and automation at present, we are now at a mercy for cyber attacks. To explain cyber attack simply, a hacker will hack into the merchant database with the use of different strategies and manipulate data, clear or steal data to blackmail. That it will result dozens of billion losses for the organizations. To avoid the threats of cyber attacks, merchants are obliged to follow international rules and regulations. Next, Kashyapa will continue on how merchants follow best management practices in international contexts for the protection of merchant ships from cybersecurity.
Thank you, Krishna. So good morning all of you. So today I'm going to explain to you what is shipping 4.0 and how it is connected with shipping operations and what are the major security requirements for cyber enabled ships. Shipping 4.0 is a subset of Industry 4.0, of which artificial intelligence, big data analytics are concerned here to increase the productivity of the operations. So it is basically about digitalizing the shipping operations. Nowadays, shipping industries line with the shipping 4.0 concept to cater to the modern demands of that particular field. Cyber-enabled ship is a vessel that includes automated and remotely accessed cyber-physical systems such as AIS, ECDIS, GMDSS, which are used for the operations. As well as it includes shore control center that controls and handles the shipping operations of cyber-enabled ships, as well as it maintains the communication links between other ships as well. So there are a lot of information and operational technologies used which are crucial for the security of the vessel, and usage of such systems increase the risk of facing cyber attacks as well. AIS, ECDIS, GMDSS are most vulnerable systems in a vessel. Therefore, there is a set of major security requirements for AIS, ECDIS, GMDSS in a cyber-enabled ship that are created based on secure tropos methodology. The first point is asset management. That means data and the signals should be protected by classifying those data into scientific and unique method. Then the ones who trying to give cyber attack will not be able to retrieve those information, and the risk of being hacked will be minimized too. The second point is access control. That means complex password policy should be established and the passwords of each system should be changed frequently. Then the cyber attackers will not be able to retrieve those passwords and the interpretation of those documents will not be easy because of the complexity of the password policy. The third point is cryptography. That means the systems must have a unique and complex encryption algorithms which helps to ensure the confidentiality of the information. The fourth point is physical and environmental security. That means hardware of those systems should be placed in an area where it is not exposed to fire and flooding. The fifth point is information security incident management. That means the systems must indicate unauthorized access and abnormal frequencies of requesting access while giving a signal to authorized personnel by an alarm. So that's how major security requirements helps to ensure the security for cyber-enabled ships, and that's about my presentation. And Manavi, the chance is yours. Thanks so much.
Okay, now I'm going to talk about cyber range method. What is this cyber range method? So it is a facility allowing a model of an IT system to run in a simulated environment to perform tests and measurements that are applicable for the real world. So this is a good kind of training method to face to a cyber attack properly. So why we need this kind of method? So if you want to train your people in maritime sector to face to a cyber attack properly, this is a best method, one of the best method to train your people to face to an cyber attack successfully, to face real cyber attack successfully. So when we talk about the importance of this method, if you implement this method into your company successfully, you will be able to protect your merchant ships and defend your security systems or computer systems and your merchant ships from real cyber attacks. Even though the other sectors have already implemented this method, the maritime sector has yet to develop or implement this method and take advantage from this. So this is a one of the best method to train your people to face to an cyber attack properly. So next, Sachit will continue the presentation.
Thank you, Manavi. One of the best management practices used in the maritime industry to survive a cybersecurity breach is to limit or prohibit computer access for outside visitors. A vessel may encounter many visitors such as port authorities, technicians, agents, and many more. Those visitors should not be given access to sensitive computers. And if the access is given for a particular reason, user privileges should be restricted and should be conducted under the supervision of an authorized person. If a visitor requires a computer for printer access, an independent computer isolated from all controlled networks should be provided. For an example, in one occasion, a bunker surveyor had requested permission to access a computer in the engine room to print some documents. The surveyor had inserted a USB drive into the computer and a malware, which is a software designed to cause damage, which has been in the USB drive has gotten into the vessel's administrative network, causing a computer issue. Therefore, by applying these management practices, such incidents can be avoided and the merchant ships can gain protection from cybersecurity breaches at a very early stage. Now I invite Perera to continue the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Sachin. Okay, now let's look at what is this cyber hierarchy and awareness in maritime sector and how will this affect shipping and maritime law, and especially what are the suggest best management practices for that. Most of shipping leaders in world can identify this as a challenge rather than a new trade, but according to the practices scenario that we come across when we reading articles, is the cyber security and cyber awareness going hand to hand. Based on our knowledge and the rating, we come up with new management practice. First, thing is developing purpose awareness and company among shipping leader, and it will be a protection of cyber distribution. And the second thing is developing an implementation of ICT system in the maritime sector. It is basically develop the knowledge about ICT as the final best management practice for we can identify holistic approach for international policies making. Now I invite Imesh.
In this era, when we talk about shipping 4.0, it is the revolutionary time period for shipping industry. As well as car manufacturing companies, shipping manufacturing companies also invented autonomous ships for their operations, which can sail without captain on board. When we design autonomous ships, it is essential for integrated with shipping 4.0 regulations. It helps to prevent staff and vessels. IMO decided to embark on the regulatory scoping exercises from that we can avoid cybercrimes. Risk assessment and software quality assurance will be necessary for the safety of cyber-enabled vessels. Smart alarm system is an example for that. I will hand over the presentation to Tushi.
Thank you, Imesh. From now on, I'll be explaining the European Union and cybersecurity. EU Commission adopted network security policy in 2001, published Strategy for Secure Information Society in 2006, and Critical Information Infrastructure Protection Plan in 2009. There are three major agencies coordinate cyber efforts for all EU member states. They are ENISA, Europol, and EDU. When it comes to the cybersecurity strategy of EU, it was signed into law on July 2, 2013. EU cybersecurity strategy requires computer emergency response teams to coordinate prevention and support private sector. When reducing cybercrime in EU, member states ratified Council of Europe Convention on Cybercrime, which mandates that a member state develop cybercrime law enforcement agency within its borders. Now on, L.D.K.V will be explaining you the rest.
Thank you, Tushini. From now on, I am explaining European Union Maritime Security Strategy. In 2014, the European Union ratified the European Union Maritime Security Strategy as the primary framework for maritime security. Realizing the maritime industry is an absolute necessity to the European Union member state to ensure European Union fleets, critical infrastructure and the market remain resilient. The European Union Maritime Security Strategy recognizes 9 major threats to maritime security in the European Union, including cyber attacks. Although this particular legislation covers a variety of threats, the legislation established 5 areas in which member states work together to remain resilient. European Union Maritime Security Strategy specifically focuses on the threat associated with the maritime domain. Each specific focuses explain how member states will achieve sector-specific goals. The collective defense of the EU through international rules and laws including UNCLOS and various legislations create a better position in European Union. Now Akash will explain our conclusion.
Thank you, Dirki. As my colleagues explained, maritime security is a special field in maritime sector. So safety officers have to apply best practices to defend their vessels against internal and external threats. So we have discussed about cybersecurity. Cyber crimes are increasing rapidly in this modern era. We controlling vessel navigation, cargo handling, and container tracking by using software. So there is a chance of hacking these softwares by hackers. Therefore, we have to use best management practices to avoid these cybersecurity breaches. So, even though there are so many international regulations, we have to go with both international regulations and best management practices to gain protection from cybersecurity breaches. So, we can conclude this as best management practices and international regulations are
extremely vital for merchant shippers in order to avoid cyber attacks. Thank you.